Andre the Giant's size gave him
Shout out Sunny V2.
The largest.
Andre the Giant's size gave him everything.
The largest and highest paid and best known wrestler in the entire world.
Once being listed by the Guinness Book of Records as the highest paid wrestler ever. These same genetics, however, made his life a living hell, with Andre famously stating, "I would give much money to be able to spend one day per week as a man of regular size." When he was born, Andre already weighed 13 pounds or 6 whole
Golly!
kilos.
Poor mom. Oh my.
Which is almost double the average male baby, weighing 3.3 kilos or 7.5 pounds. Growing up, Andre played soccer, with his childhood friends stating he used to be the goalie, but the ball would never go in because he was so big. By the age of 12, Andre was 6'3" and 200.
Bro, could you imagine a 6'3" 12-year-old?
40 pounds or 108 kilos.
As I started going to school, I was bigger than all the kids.
He was too big to fit on the local school bus, and his family didn't have the money to buy a car that could deal with his weight. As a result, Andre left school to work on a farm, where one day a friend of the farm's owner drove slowly past the field in a Rolls Royce.
He said, wait a minute, that nigga could be a wrestler, hold on.
"I will own such a car as that someday," Andre said quietly. "Stop dreaming and start raking," his father replied. "You are a big boy, but that dream is too big even for you."
L father, bro. L fucking father, bro. L fucking father, bro. That is the worst thing you can say to your kid. That's the worst thing you can say to your kid.
I said to my dad, someday I could get a car like this. And he said, quit dreaming and keep walking.
According to his brother, Andre did the farm work of 3 different men and would drive an unregistered car as the cops wouldn't dare to stop him. When he tried to join the military,
Andre was deemed unfit for service as there were no shoes big enough, bunks long enough, or trenches
You lucky motherfucker.
deep enough to accommodate
You lucky bitch.
him.
Yet these same issues made him a wrestling sensation. He'd officially become Andre the Giant.
Imagine he gets fucking drafted because there's a war. They're like, damn, my nigga, we ain't got no clothes or shoes for you. Go home. Yo, lucky mother.
Famous televised wrestler, but more notably had grown so much, his own parents didn't recognize him when he came back home.
My parents, they was a big fan of me, they saw me on TV, but they don't know.
Your parents were a fan and they didn't know it was you?
No, because I changed my name.
At over 7 foot tall and 500 pounds or 227 kilos, Andre saw a doctor to figure out why he'd grown so much. Acromegaly was the diagnosis, a rare 1 in 12,000 brain tumor causing the body to produce excessive growth hormone. It leads to extra large hands, feet, and fingers, as well as
Good God. Those feet are crazy.
as a bigger jaw, nose, lips, and tongue. According to Ripley's Believe It or Not, his fingers were so big around that the ring he wore had an opening that could easily fit a silver dollar, which is 38.1 mil. To put the size into perspective, the average man's finger is around 10 to 11 mil around. This could be seen in interviews like this.
This is his ring, and I kid you not, I can get all 3 fingers in that ring.
With people on Reddit adding, favorite fact is that Andre was so large, he could push a hard-boiled egg through his wedding ring. My wife met him once and instead of a handshake, she said she could only shake one of his fingers. These elements made him so unique that when doctors offered to remove his tumor, Andre bluntly refused.
Yeah.
He decided that he didn't want
that was his stick. That's what made him famous, bro.
Would interfere with his career as a wrestler.
It stated, if this is the size that God wanted me to be, I'm going to be this size.
I use what God gave me. I'm not supernatural. I just myself. So what God gave me, I
Andre
use
the
it.
Giant's gone, ain't
However, this gave him a short life expectancy.
The commissioned doctors at Madison Square Garden told me he's going to be lucky to live to be 40.
And meant he'd keep on growing until the day he'd die. By the time he joined the WWE, Andre had reached 7'4", peaking at 560 pounds or 225 kilos.
What size boot is that, Andre?
It's 22.
20 fucking
Take a look at that along my size 9.
This made him the most successful wrestler ever.
Without a doubt, Andre was the most famous wrestler in the world.
Yet it also
it's Jerry the King Lawler.
Continue to
That's
make
the
his
GOAT
life
right there.
harder.
GOAT of commentary, bro.
They don't build anything
WWE
for big
GOAT
people.
of commentary.
They build everything for blind people.
He was also a wrestler, but
some other people, but not for the big people.
Andre was constantly visiting new cities,
The nature of your
Jerry
job, you're
the
traveling all the
fucking
time,
king.
aren't you? Like 320 nights a year.
Yes.
which came with its own set of challenges.
Hotel beds, are they a problem?
I tried to find a hotel where they got a king size bed. The worst is when I go in Japan, all those cars are so small.
Sure.
Even in a hotel, I can go through the door, I can go to the bathroom, everything is so small.
Andre was too large to fit inside most
Nigga,
cars.
actually, it's
When I
nah,
travel in
nah, bruh.
2 cars.
That's right. You can't even get in it.
There is no
That one girl saw the video of Andre the Giant fitting into a Mini Cooper. That's why she was so mad that nigga wouldn't let her in her Corolla. Sorry, y'all. I know I said I was gonna talk about that shit tomorrow, but that shit pissed me
You
off.
can't even get in it.
There is nowhere for the giant to live anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, that Spider-Man game is out.
One car in each foot.
Taking a taxi wasn't a better alternative,
Funny story, one time we couldn't get a taxi because he was so big.
and when they finally got one, Andre was charged extra.
We ask him how much he is, and we see the counter, he charges double. So you're a big guy, you have to pay double.
It seems that flying was Andre's only
Spider-Man
option, where he'd have to book the entire exit row.
Wait, it unlocks
However,
in 10
thankfully,
hours?
he was
So it's
able
coming
to
out
fix
later
this
on in the day.
problem.
What about plane travel? Does that get old after a while? Awful?
I go in first class, but I don't drink, man.
Despite this costing an absolute fortune,
I'm traveling so much. Last year, I bought for $67,000 just an airplane ticket.
there was still another even bigger flying problem. Andre couldn't fit inside the toilet. He therefore had to relieve himself prior to boarding,
Andre would always time it so that he would take a dump before, he went to the airport.
but in one notable instance, he forgot to go beforehand.
He's up in first class and he tells them, I gotta go. And they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
The onboard solution wasn't exactly glamorous,
Get a
He would relieve
fucking poop out
himself
the
into a
plane.
bucket, and then they bring it in and dump it into the toilet.
but in retrospect, the story's pretty funny.
The smell that started coming out, there was people falling out of their seats almost into the aisles, puking, crying, screaming.
Sadly, this didn't only apply to
Big
planes.
shit from a big man, bruh.
In the bathtub.
Sorry, y'all.
No.
Yeah. There's no toilet gonna take his ass.
And with monumental bells came monumental farts.
It sounded like, like a deep roar, kind of like thing. It would rumble.
On the set of Princess Bride, this actually
Shut
halted
up, Vince
production.
McMahon.
He lets out the most monumental fart. The whole plywood set was shaking, and the sound guy lifted his headphones off his ears and was doing that, and it went on for somebody timed it was 16 seconds.
While Andre's former wrestling
big ass
opponents
bow,
thought the
bruh.
wind lasted even longer.
And I could feel my fucking shoulder just vibrate like. You know how long a giant can fart? How long? About 40 seconds.
Andre was so different to everybody else, it got to the point of public ridicule. Hulk Hogan explained when we'd walk through the airports, if he got ahead of me, I'd hear all the unkind things that people would say. Oh my God, look at that guy. It would just break my heart.
They perceived him as a freak of nature.
That's crazy because, Hulk Hogan went against Andre the Giant on multiple occasions, but he still respected him. W. Hulk Hogan.
And that hurt Andre more than anything. This guy was very sensitive. Boss, sometimes they laugh at me.
Of course he was
they point
sensitive,
at
man.
me,
Look at all those
hurts my
people
feelings.
staring at him.
You never think a guy like that would cry? But he would cry.
Andre stated in an interview, I would give much money to be able to spend one day per week as a man of regular size. I would shop and I would go to the cinema and drive around in a sports car and walk down Fifth Avenue and stare at the other people for a change. Disguising himself in public simply wasn't possible.
Muhammad Ali could put on a trench coat and a ball cap. Andre the Giant couldn't hide in the backseat of a car.
Instead opting to numb himself completely.
He never, ever, ever quit drinking. He drank from the time he got up to the time he went to bed. If he could figure out a way, he just done it in his sleep.
While Andre's drinking feats are often highly romanticized, there's
Bro
no
got a
denying
beer
he
belly.
had a serious problem.
He started drinking about 9 o'clock in the morning. He drank I'm not exaggerating, 20 bottles of new Beaujolais.
Doing so to cope with his difficult life.
During
he
a
drank
wrestling
because he
match.
was in pain. His spine and his neck and his knees gave him a lot of trouble.
He drinks 6 bottles of wine before every wrestling match, with Jake the Snake explaining that Andre once drank 48 beers in a single car trip.
He drank 2 cases of beer and did not have to piss. How can you do that?
This was nothing compared to a different night.
Is it true that you, in one sitting, drank 117 beers?
Yes.
Were you drunk at the end of that?
I don't remember. I think I passed out.
With Andre's unofficial record being 156 beers in one sitting,
Jeez.
which fellow wrestlers Dusty Rhodes and Michael Hayes confirmed. However, this only added extra weight onto his body.
I myself saw him almost every night drink 7,000 calories worth of alcohol.
Which seemed to be the primary motive for why he eventually quit.
But you don't drink anymore.
Not since 14 months ago I quit.
You feel better for not drinking?
Yeah, because when I was drinking beer, I used to weigh 560 pounds.
And you've trimmed down now to?
Right now, I'm 470.
This led to the infamous Andre the Giant vs Hulk Hogan, after which his career was basically over. When he next came to a match, Andre was using crutches, showing the decline of his physical health. He'd retire to a ranch in North Carolina until he flew back to France for his father's funeral. He'd take this photo after the ceremony without realizing that 3 days later, Andre himself would die of a heart attack.
I'd like to announce the death of one of my favorite wrestlers and one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. He died this week in Paris, France, after going home to his father's funeral.
His body was too large to fit in any French crematorium, and as a result, he was shipped back to the USA. His ashes weighed 17 pounds or almost 8 kilos, being just another reason he's remembered as a legend.
Holy fucking hell.